Hey y'all, this is Dr. J coming to you for day one at the well, where we will get real, raw, and discuss those things that hinder us from becoming the very best version of ourselves that we could possibly be. Like I always say, once you go to the well, there is no turning back. So let's go. Today I want to talk about forgetting. Yep, that's simple. I want to talk about forgetting. Not forgiving and forgetting, because we are definitely going to deal with forgiveness another day, but forgetting, because it is endemic, it is ingrained rather in us that forgetting is impossible to do. So often we are either taught, whether it's in the home or it's by way of life's experiences, that forgetting is not possible. When I speak about forgetting, I am not talking about mentally blocking something out and calling it forgetting, because that's not healthy, which we'll go into. I am talking about the act of actually forgetting, and I want to talk to you about how that is possible. So, the title of today's lesson is Help Me Forget. I don't even want to call it a lesson. I just want to call it a little talk, and I will tell you about my experiences, and I welcome you all to share back and comment about yours, and let's get down to the nitty-gritty. So, when it comes to forgetting, I want you to first know that it is possible. It is possible. Let's talk about good memories. So good things happen in our lives. Let's call it, it could be love, it could be family, having children, marriage. If that's a little too serious for some of you, it could be a good book. It could be a good experience. There are so many things that we go through in life where we can recount and think of how positively that impacted our lives, right? And those are the things that we don't want to forget, because those feelings remind us of that euphoria and the tranquility and the things that those types of memories bring. But let's keep it real. There are some things that also happen that we also go through that don't bring up the best of memories. And that's what I want to deal with today, because different people deal with it in different ways. There are some people who go through things like this, and depending on how traumatic the experience is, the body can react in such a way that one can mentally block the experience out and suppress any feelings that are attached to it. There's also those who go through things, and while the body has not suppressed the memory, their reaction to it has. So they completely detach themselves or block themselves off from feeling anything that's attached to that memory. Now, let's stop there really quick, because how or why is that not healthy? It's not healthy because emotions, we're humans, so we were made to feel. But when we block off, not even our ability, but when we block off that necessity to feel and to process, what we are doing is we are hindering our progression from whatever it is that that situation has brought. And not even just that, but further experiences in life, because we can then become immune to things that happen to us, whether good or bad, and not have a proper emotional reaction to it. So I want to go back to my first point. Forgetting is possible. How or why? Because the same way that we can recount memories that make us feel good, and we can bring those things back up that remind us of how we once wanted to feel or how we did feel, we have that same ability to bring up the bad memories and how we don't want to feel, and push them out. How do we push them out? Number one, we've got to respond but not react. How do I respond? I've got 3 points for you. Number one is learn. Number two is earn. And number three, move on. So one, learn. Regardless of if it's a good situation or one that negatively or adversely affected you, you want to learn what it is that is to come of this situation. Now, you might say, I have been through some things that are absolutely traumatic, and there is nothing that I can learn in that. I have been where you are. I'm not going to say that I've experienced what you experienced, because all of our experiences can be different, even those that have some similarities. But I can tell you from personal experience that it is possible to learn even in the worst of situations. So again, you might say, well, what is there for me to learn from that except maybe stay away from that person or never do that again, or you know what, kick that person out of my life because they don't belong in my life. These may be natural reactions. But what we have to learn how to do is to not react and to respond. So in my responding, I choose to learn what I need to learn from that situation. So the same things that I could learn that could potentially negatively affect me and or another party or that situation, I can also choose to find the positive in that situation. Let me pause right there while I keep talking. I am talking about finding the positive in tough situations, but I fully realize that it's not easy. I fully realize that we go through things where not only is it not easy, but at some point in going through them, it is virtually impossible, because the human side of us, we feel, we hurt, we cry. That is natural. So I am not coming to you like in a callous sort of way to tell you what can be done and then you have nothing that's attached to it. That's not where I'm coming to you from. I'm coming to you as someone who has gone through the humiliation, the divorce, the bitterness, the hatred, the suicidal thoughts, rape, molestation, verbal abuse, emotional abuse, abusing myself, not caring for myself, not finding myself worthy, giving myself to people who don't even see the same worth in me, probably because I didn't see it in myself. So I'm not coming to you as someone who's never been through it and then telling you build a bridge and get over it. No, because that bridge is going to take some materials. And sometimes those materials to get to the other side are the very things that we need to go through. So that's where I'm coming from. So how do I know that you can forget? Because I've been there. And sometimes we just have to make a choice. What can I learn from this situation? Maybe this situation is going to help someone else. Maybe it won't help someone else, but perhaps it's going to help me. Maybe it's going to help me see my worth and become a better version of myself. Because remember, that's what I said at the beginning. When we come to the well, we find ways to become a better version of ourselves. And that's what I'm here for. So maybe that situation is just solely about me and about nobody else. Let me tell you, I was not always here, and it took me a long time to get here. And let me also tell you that I still encounter things that are tough, where I have to remind myself, not even of what I'm teaching, but I have to remind myself how this applies to my own life, sometimes even daily, because it's not easy. But I have to choose to look at situations as, what can I get out of this? How is it going to help me? And detach. I once had a boss that used to tell me all the time, so much so that I used to hate to see him coming. He would say, Jay, you've got to learn to rationally detach. And I used to hate when John said that to me, because I'd be thinking inside, how can I detach when this person has hurt me or used me or abused me or scandalized my name? The list goes on and on. How can I detach from that? But he would tell me over and over again, you've got to rationally detach. What I finally learned after him saying that to me for about a year, maybe more, is that sometimes with these experiences, you have to separate the experience from the person. separate the fish from the bones and take the part that's going to give you the best nourishment. But if we focus so much on them, they, what they did, what they're saying, how they're hating, then guess what? We won't get the fish. We won't get the nourishment. We won't get the lesson. And again, that lesson is going to help me, help you, and then you help someone else and or yourself. So, forgetting is possible. Forgetting is possible. Number 2, respond and don't react. We just talked about that. Learn the lesson. There's a lot of lessons we don't want to learn. Remember in school when those tests came and it's like I could guess at these answers or I could actually study the material. Life is a lot about studying the material. Because as these smaller pop quizzes come that lead to the larger tests, sometimes you can think back like, oh, I went through something where I may have possibly seen this coming and I probably could have avoided it. But since I'm already here, let me recount on what it is I've already learned and how I can use that to get me through to my next. And that is my next point. Point number 1 under respond and don't react was learn the lesson. Number 2 was earn the next level. Don't give any situation enough power to take your next from you or to take your purpose from you. Nobody, nothing, no place, no person, no thing should have that much power over you that they take your next from you. Don't give anybody that much power. And you know what? Let's keep it real. Don't give yourself that much power. And yes, I'm pointing at you and I'm pointing at me. I refuse to give myself that much power that I compromise the purpose that is on my life. And you can't compromise your purpose either. You can't, because there's too